Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends of Tel Aviv University, I would like to welcome you all to today's exciting discussion with our honorable guests from Abu Dhabi. في البداية أنا بدي أرحب ضيوفنا الكرام وأتمنى أن الاتفاق بيننا سيفتح آفاق جديدة وينتج بمستقبل أفضل لكلنا ولكل شعوب المنطقة. I'll switch again to English and would say that we are very, very excited in this historic moment in Tel Aviv University to have this gathering with our friends from Abu Dhabi. I would particularly like to thank Dr. Muhammad Abdullah Al-Ali, Director General of Trends Research and Advisory, for what all of us hope will be the beginning of a very and highly fruitful and successful collaboration between our two peoples and between both institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, Trends Research and Advisory is a leading Emirati think tank which provides research and analysis on regional geopolitics, political economy, and public policy issues. The recent normalization agreement, known as the Abraham Accord between Israel and the UAE, provides a platform for collaboration and cooperation, which for us here in Israel, I dare say, is potentially unprecedented within our region. And for that, our friends, we are most grateful. An important part of these evolving relations is, of course, academic and research cooperation. And we here in Tel Aviv University at the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern and African Studies, we are so happy to announce the signing of Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, with our friends at Trends. And I think this is going to be, I hope so, a very successful cooperation. I would say the most important dimension of which would be appreciating the other, learning and immersing yourself in the other's culture and building person-to-person, face-to-face relations. Without further ado, I would like now to offer the floor to His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Abdullah Al-Ali, Director General of Trends, to say a few words. Dr. Al-Ali, please.
Thank you a lot, Dr. Rosie, and thank you all the audience and academics, businessmen, and also a student in Tel Aviv University. Actually, before I say, I want to only just show you a short presentation about Trends Research and Advisory, then I will deliver my speech. Thank you a lot. I would like to extend cordial thanks to Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern and African Studies for its efforts towards organizing this symposium entitled A Journey to the Gate of Tomorrow. This event carried us in an intellectual journey from Tel Aviv to Abu Dhabi. I take the opportunity to indicate that Trends Research and Advisory Center is a private, independent, non-government center working in two main tracks: preparing research and studies and providing consultations and also recommendation. In the first track, Trends is mainly interested in preparing studies related to strategic, economic, security, and social affairs, with more focus on Middle East issues. Trends Center serves no effort seeking to enhance the global awareness of these issues and objective perspective. The aim is to reflect the truth and reality of these issues, along with providing scientific, thoughtful analysis about them. The other track is the advisory track, as Trends Center works relying on a wide group of experts and consultants who are working under the umbrella of Trends or cooperating with it from abroad to provide various consultation with the specialty of the center for both government and private sector at local, regional, and international level. Moreover, there are several other projects performed by Trends as a part of its advisory track to serve the interest of some public and private institutions. Seeking to achieve its objective, Trends Center cooperate with the regional and international think tanks based on partnership agreements. This serves the interests of both parties and help to get a clearer understanding about the topic of common interest. Moshe Dayan Center is considered one of the regional think tanks with whom Trends was honored by signing partnership agreements. There are various and different proposals which are being studied currently both parties to enhance their partnership. Science inspections. Until today, Trends Center has launched many initiatives which help in achieving its ambitious vision. This vision and initiatives were manifested in establishing the following projects and departments: Trends Global Barometer, Trends Innovation Lab, Trends Smart Multimedia Lab, Trends Knowledge Hub, Trends Digital Monitor, Trends Global Smart Library, Trends Lab for Future Foresight, Trends Global Languages. These various initiatives are designed to support the scientific research and imply it to serve global development, humanitarian, environmental, and economic issues. They also support the global efforts aiming to address various challenges that are facing the world nowadays, such as backwardness, poverty, climate change, among other challenges. Trends cannot work alone without the help from partnership with other specialized research centers from all over the world. Abraham Accords that have been signed by United Arab Emirates, Bahrain Kingdom, and Israel have opened broad prospects in various domains from the three countries. They open a wide door for cooperation and sharing developments and scientific experience with the aim to achieve prosperity and welfare for the people of this country and the whole region. This accord supports the regional stability and the stability in a broader way they opened the relation with Israel in the various fields: finance and investment, civil aviation, entry visas and economic services, innovation and trade relations, healthcare, science and technology, tourism, energy, environment, education, maritime, telecommunications and post services, agriculture and food security, water, legal cooperation, and others. In each one of the above mentioned fields, the three country signatories of the Abraham Accord enjoy relative advantages and experiences, and they have the opportunity that help them to cooperate and coordinate among each other. In my word, I shall focus on some of this domain briefly to give my college the space to share with me some ideas about those new perspectives. We shall mainly focus on the available opportunity for cooperation between UAE and Israel, since the title of the symposium revolves around the same topic. In the domain of finance and investment, the UAE inception has focused on improvising an environment that is attractive for investments. That was done through laws, regulations, which support foreign investment, including the law of foreign investment. 2 days ago, a new resolution was issued allowing foreign companies to enjoy 100% ownership in the UAE. This trend toward attracting foreign investment was reflected in multiplying the flow of foreign investment into the UAE as the global rank of the country jumped from the 30th position in 2017 to the 27th in 2018 in terms of the abilities to attract direct foreign investment to the country. The value of direct foreign investment flowing to the country increased from $10 billion in 2017 to about $10.3 billion in the 2018. Their average annual growth of foreign investment registered about 1.6% during the period from 2014 to 2018. These indicators, besides the other factors, represent good opportunity for Israeli investors to come and invest in broad sectors, which are distinguished by having high growth rates with promising investment opportunity. These attractive sectors include trade, tourism, financial services, insurance, manufacturing, and industries, along with the service related to advanced technology and high tech and artificial intelligence. Besides some new promising sectors such as space, telecommunications, among others. Noteworthy, the investment environment in the UAE is stable and distinguished of having constant development and growth for the benefit of the investors. Moreover, the state gives significant attention to support investment in general. Moving to the other domain, I will let my colleague to talk about it a little more. Thank you a lot, and I am sorry that I take a lot, maybe from your time. And if you allow me, I can introduce also my other colleague, Mr. Mahmoud. He can also give some brief and pictures about the UAE economy in general and the growth rate and how it's working. Please, Mr. Mahmoud. Mr. Mahmoud has also PowerPoint presentation. He will share with us this PowerPoint presentation. Thank you a lot again.
Yeah, so I will be speaking. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. And I'm happy to have this opportunity. I will be speaking about sustainable development, UAE records, and economic performance and opportunity. Of course, we have. Yes. So the first, let me go very fast over the concept of sustainable development. I'm sure you are very much aware of it. So there are definitions. So sustainable development, as we know it, is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. Now, there are three pillars for sustainable development: economic, social, and environment. And these are very important. It's an inclusive approach toward development. I would be focusing a bit on economic approach, and please excuse me, and for giving the limitation. There are some theories here, the limitation to the limits of the growth theory. The centrality, well-being, utility, and the concept of sustainable development. Federici perspective had a strong impact. Solo had also impact on the idea of sustainability. Waltman had a great contribution on that. And then the literature of sustainable development, or the idea of sustainable development, has emerged. Now, the important issue that we have to also to point out that there's a linkage with national agenda. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without having a national, some sort of a streamlining exercise with the national agenda and the national government. So there should be some sort of harmonizing with international organization. MDG can learn a lot from or SDG can learn a lot from the MDG process, the Millennium Development Goal, in terms of monitoring and measuring. The record of developed economies has done only 7 countries has, such as Germany, Australia, France, Sweden, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Norway, have a high development levels. However, emerging economies have there are 40 countries on that category. So that shows that they have achieved a very good. This is a very good indication. Now, let me speak about the national adaptation process and how do you adapt as a country to the Sustainable Development Goal. It started in the Conference of Paris, and there is what they started a national adaptation plan. The less developed countries have some participated in the national adaptation plan. How you adopt your national strategy with that of the Sustainable Development Goal. So what's the process of the national adaptation plan? Or national, it starts with addressing the gaps, then preparatory elements, then implementation strategy, then of course reporting, monitoring, and review. Now there is some sort of a profile of what you call global achievers or forerunners. So of course these are 2015 profile. Probably it has changed, it has not changed a little bit, but most likely it's around the same thing. So the number one, of course, is Sweden in all 17 dimensions, and they've managed to streamline. Second is Germany, and third is Netherlands. Yes. So now let's speak of Sustainable Development Initiative in UAE. The Sustainable Development Initiative is well embedded in UAE national strategies and national development plan. Even as we were speaking about this, the idea of sustainable development, we have embedded this trio approach toward development: the social, economic, and environmental. So let's speak about some federal strategy. In 2008. there was UAE strategy, the first UAE government strategy was launched to achieve balance and sustainable development. That was in 2008. That was at the federal level. So that you see that sustainable development is well embedded. UAE strategy 2011-2013, again, it has several general principles, 7 strategic priority, and 7 strategic enablers. So the strategic priority are cohesive society, preserved identity, first-rate education system, world-class healthcare, competitive knowledge economy, safe, public, and fair judiciary, sustainable environment and infrastructure. A strong global standing, the strategic enabler is likely enabling environment, skilled human capital, customer-centric service, efficient financial management, good institutional governance, dynamic government. Let's move to the national strategy for innovation. So the aim is that by 2021, UAE will be one of the most innovative nations globally. Then you have UAE Sentinel to 2071, which is 100 years. And this is like a 50 years plan that we want to, that we have outlined the pillars for it, the enablers, and the main priority area. Of course, there are local, like Abu Dhabi Economic Vision to 2030. There is Abu Dhabi Plan 2030, and there's other notable strategies at the local government level. The government of Dubai did a strategic plan 2015, Dubai Plan 2021, the January 4, 2020 charter, and the 50-year charter, which is slowly focused on the economic, and it's on the domain of the Emirates of Dubai. Now, this is of course a breakup of the GDP. You would see the contribution of GDP, many sectors, wholesale and retail, construction is one of the main sector, real estate, manufacturing, of course, mining, and which is the energy sector, are the high growth sector. Of course, this is before COVID, was retail, hospitality, healthcare, food and beverage, and manufacturing. Now, the economy of UAE. Now, to speak about some opportunity that you want to address, the agriculture sector, contribution to UAE GDP is around 3 billion USD in 2015. Of course, that is but has a high potential, and there is a lot of things, a lot of improvement that can be done on that level. There's a growth, as you see, and there is a very impressive growth level by 2016, 2017. Of course, the latest record shows even a better stand. There's UAE, also UAE position on the global food security industry, which is very high. We are ranked 21 globally in terms of the global food security, and we have increased by 10 rank. Now the health sector. So Abu Dhabi Healthcare Strategic Plan, the priority area for it, and this is important for some business, some economists to understand what are the priority areas. Reducing capacity gaps, improving the quality of healthcare services, training and retaining qualified healthcare, improving preparedness during emergencies, and ensuring value for money. Dubai Healthcare Strategic Plan also is important to look at, because then you know what are the priority. So the objectives are to ensure health and safe environment for Dubai people, ensuring the provision of high quality, comprehensive integrated health service, achieving innovation, improving efficiency, and creating integrated database to be for the smart government policy in taking decision. So there are 4 main approaches, 6 objectives, 15 programs, and 93 initiatives. All of them, of course, have business and economic aspect to them in which we can utilize. So the opportunity in the healthcare sector is in cloud technology, telemedicine, wearables, artificial intelligence. Energy is another important sector, contribute around, now I think it's more 26% to UAE GDP, the latest figure shows that. and it's around 1.9 billion USD. So in the sector growth rate, of course, that fluctuates depending on the price of oil. So and there's we have a national strategy and for energy security, and these are the objectives, is that we want to increase the distribution of clean energy. We want to reduce carbon footprint. We want to save 70 billion in doing all the above, and increase consumption efficiency of individuals and corporate by 40%. So these are what you call it, the energy mix that we are planning to achieve in the forecast. In terms of reserve, of course, we are the 7th largest country globally in terms of oil reserve. We were 80, we had a reserve of 98. I think there was a recent discovery, of course, and by 2 billion barrel, and that increases back to, I think, 100 or slightly above 100. There was investment in Abu Dhabi National Oil Company in terms of the capital investment. The amount was 122 billion throughout 2022. So the renewable strategy is another area which is important, and it is has a good investment platform for companies to come and to invest in. And we have Masdar City, 2.7 billion in clean energy and developments in 2006. Now you look at the renewable and natural gas and how much of them are actually powered by natural gas and how much of them are powered by renewables. So in 2012, only 2% was powered by renewable, where in 2021, the number has increased. And share of renewable power generation by 2030, we anticipate that it will be 25% versus others. So what are important renewable energy technology in UAE? Solar PV, wind power, waste to energy. In terms of space, the size of UAE space industry is 22 AED, that's 22 billion. And we have a national space policy, of course, principle of UAE space policy to enhance the lives of our citizens, support UAE national interests, support growth, diversification, promote collaboration, respect international laws and treaties. So what are the opportunities in the space economic sector? Generally speaking, space mining, space station, space settlement, space law, sustainability in space, recycling in space, space tourism, space companies, and space academic. Specific opportunity are on satellite servicing, though these are important for people who are business oriented and want to see opportunity. Interplanetary small satellite, robotic mining, microgravity research, liquid rocket engines for launch vehicles, wireless power, space communication, Earth observation data. Now, of course, the final thing is the fine tech industry is expected to reach 2.5 billion USD by 2020. This is a very interesting sector. So the global fine tech investment growth was 26. UAE fine tech investment growth, the investment in UAE fine tech was 64, so that's almost the double size. That shows the real opportunity that are there in the fine tech sector. Fine tech funding in the region, that shows UAE has around 69 or 70% at the regional level. There's some fine tech initiative at the IFC Fine Tech Hive in Dubai, and connecting fine tech startup with lending financial institutions. Thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharif, for this very informative and illuminating presentation of so many economic opportunities. Let me just introduce the other panelists, if I may. We have with us Mr. Ahmed Al-Stad, Head of Trend Scientific Research Sector, and also Director of Strategic Studies, Dr. Stefan Blackwell, and Dr. Fatou Haikal, who is the political advisor. I welcome you all. I would like to introduce here in Tel Aviv my colleague, Mr. Igal Landau. Igal is the CEO of Ratio Oil Exploration, and he is a distinguished member of Tel Aviv University Boards of Governors, and he will join our Q&A session. What I would like to ask you is just to have, if you could be so kindly as to, respond to some short questions and answers in kind of 3-4 minutes in order to enable us to have 2 rounds of questions, if I may. And let me just shift it to the cultural academic bond. Having heard a lot about our economic opportunities, I would like Mr. Al-Ustad just to ask you, I was privileged last week to take part in your webinar dealing with the role of think tanks in these turbulent times. So I would like to just ask you to just share your views about that with the audience here. What is, in your opinion, should be think tanks' contribution, and especially when it comes to MDC entrance here in Abu Dhabi and Tel Aviv University, to this future cooperation among us, and to, as we say, enlarging the people-to-people approach here in Tel Aviv and Abu Dhabi. Please, Mr. Al-Ustad.
Thank you a lot, Dr. Ozzy, for giving me this opportunity to talk. Actually, this was really a wonderful talking and discussion during the think tank roundtable. And also we had separately also discussion and talks. We actually talk about the opportunity. Now, this is a new shift in the Middle East. With this Abraham Accords, there is a new steps. We actually face, as you know, for a long time, we're dealing with the different issues in the same way. And we find it that we must shift our strategy to find other ways to make this region more stable and more peaceful, to develop it, to share our also common interests together. I know there is many areas that my colleagues, they mentioned it for the cooperation between both sides. The research side, they have also opportunity to work together. The first issue is to understand each other. This is what we all agree on it. We want to know who is the Israeli people. We want to know how we can think together, find a solution. We, as Dr. Mohammed mentioned it, we create here initiatives, we call it Trans Innovation Lab. This Trans Innovation Lab is meant to find a unique and creative solution for different issues and challenges. We try to think together as a think tanks in the regional level, global level, think about the solution, alternative options to deal with some challenges like poverty. Think about the climate change, how we can deal with this climate change, how we can deal with the epidemics is something being repeated in the future. This is need some kind of the cooperation, and I am really what they call it tafa'ul. I don't know how the optimistic about the cooperation between both sides, our side, the Trans, and also Moshe Dayan Center. We think also together. We had a discussion about to have a round table, at least bring the others to this meetings, encourage the others to this peace process, to believe it, to know that how this peace process is very important, not only just for the countries, but the whole world. It's very important for whole world to have some changes. This is not for us only, just this is for the new generation who will come after us. We can actually, there is the opportunity to work together in the different topics. One of the main topics that we believe it is very important to discuss it is Muslim Brotherhood and political Islam. And actually, we put it as one of our priority topics here in the Trends. We had a department, we call it Political Islam Department. And I know that you also, as Munshi Dayan Research Center, they are sharing with us the same thoughts about these issues of political Islam. We actually prepare a lot of publication. We had some publication. We actually also translated to the Hebrew, and we can work together. We had a lot also. We can give it the copyright for the youth center to translate it to the Hebrew, to people in the world Israel also understand how we are thinking about this issue. Maybe there is some misunderstood that the people in the West that thought that all regions that have the same thoughts about the political Islam. They didn't make a separate between Islam and between the political Islam and some extremism groups that they giving a bad feed about the religions. We had a lot of initiatives that we want also work with the think tanks first, discuss it with them, this initiative, to understand what they and get their feedback, how they are thinking about this initiative. Maybe they can give us also some new ideas that we can put it all together, make it one idea, one initiative, and we work together on it. We actually put it in our plan, the roundtable, the Israeli Arabs think tanks roundtable. This is one of our plan to have it in the 2021, and we hope that we can make it real with the Moshe Dayan, bring it the Israeli think tanks, and also we try to also bring it from our side, the Arabs and think tanks and GCC think tanks to come discuss the common issue. We will try to discuss it, the issue that we all agree on, like development. Talk about the welfare, talk about the technology. Let us talk about something we agree, then we can step by step go to something we had a different thought. I know that by the end we can reach some agreements between each other. Thank you a lot for giving me this chance to.
So much, Mr. Ustad. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And I can tell you that all these things that you have just mentioned are going to be kind of a joint agenda for our work together in 2021. Thank you so much. Let me just ask you, Dr. Blackwell, I would like actually to know, what is your take about how do you see the regional architecture on top of the UAE, Israel, Abraham Accord? To what extent actually you would see that, as I do, kind of a real milestone in the build-up of a totally different Middle East, which is going to be, I think, much more convenient for future generations. Dr. Blackwell.
Of course, it's a historic breakthrough, a historic development. It'd be interesting to see to what extent other countries participate. Of course, Bahrain is involved. I've seen the media stories recently about the discussions between Mr. Netanyahu and the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince. So an alliance of like-minded states with common interests, it's an encouraging development. I suppose that the slight downside is it might exacerbate a polarization in the region into two opposed camps, or at least, well, we have this alliance and then we have kind of further polarization, further potential for disputes with, well, of course, the obvious, the two candidates are Turkey and Iran, of course, which are very important concerns here in the Gulf, naturally. Again, much depends on how the new US administration, which looks almost 99.9% certain it will be President Biden, unless unless the outgoing president miraculously finds some way to overturn the results in some of the swing states. But I think it's a bit too late for that now. But it will be interesting to see what approach Biden takes to Turkey, of course, to rejoining the Iranian nuclear program. How we might seek to intervene in the Israel-Palestine issue, but Biden is certainly saying he's certainly not going to be running the third Obama administration. So we'll have to wait and see. I guess things will become clearer in a few months, but certainly the Abraham Accords is an extremely positive development. There's immense scope for cooperation across the full spectrum: military security, cultural, academic, economic, investment, all kinds of sectors. So it's a time of change, but also I think a time of optimism as well.
Exactly, I fully agree with you, and I think that we are at a crossroads in the Middle East, and definitely we have new power configurations, and one should hope for kind of better times in the Middle East. I would like actually to ask you, Dr. Heikel, we talked about economy, we talked about geopolitics, we talked about so many things. It is very, very interesting to see if we could have kind of a word about something which is, very exciting here in Israel, in the street, in the academia. We have young generations, and what we do think is that the moment we are going actually to make them meet each other, respecting the otherness of the other, we are going actually to build up the bridge on which we're going to have kind of a better Middle East. And I would like to ask you actually, what do you think is the role of academia in the build-up of this bridge, especially as our younger generations are eager to have kind of new horizons? And I think that this is high time for us to start thinking that way. Dr. Heikel, please.
Okay, thank you for this meeting and for organizing this meeting, this event. I think the role of academia is similar to the role of think tank. We already have in the region a new generation thinking in a different way. This is a new generation thinking about we have to stop violence, stop struggle, stop wars, and begin to enter in dialogue to understand each other. You can saw this thinking in all the region, here in the Gulf and even in other parts in Arab world. Academia, university or education and school can play, and even also media. All this compound can play a very important role to make this bridge between cultural and try to help people in each side to understand the cultural and the thinking of the other side. I think we have to make a change in our education way, in university or in school. This change should concentrate on how to make the dialogue, how to try to understand each other and to avoid what we can call a historical background and begin a new beginning. And especially now, we are all the region facing a very important issue and very important a new circumstance, and we have to invest in this new thinking in the region.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think that, yes, academia has kind of an instrumental role in that. And I'm pretty sure that our both centers, research centers, we're going to work together in order to better or bring in kind of a familiarity with each other when it comes to our young generations. I would like also to ask you all, I mean, whoever would like actually to just deal with that, what would be, in your opinion, the impact of COVID-19 on our geopolitical architecture, on our cultural or any other interactions we're going to have, if that is something that we should use in order to build up the bridge, or maybe this is kind of a hurdle which is very, very difficult to overcome. What is your take about the significance of COVID-19 when it comes to our future cooperation in all folds? And I would like to actually, whoever would like to deal with that, please.
Well, we can only hope that, I think some people were linking COVID-19 with deglobalization. I think a little excessively. People were too concerned about how fears of pandemics and mobility of people traveling from country to country. This was something that was going to have to be restricted. There was almost an instant link made between COVID-19 and deglobalization. I don't think it's going to have such an impact myself. I think that was an initial panic reaction to the spread of a pandemic, and I'm optimistic that won't in fact be the case. But what I think perhaps there'll be less interest in globalization in the future, and perhaps this is not a bad thing. People will be more focused on looking for regional solutions rather than global solutions. I think there's an awareness that maybe 25 years ago, people assumed that globalization would increase prosperity equally, regardless of different levels of income. That has not happened. I mean, some have done extremely well at globalization. I think people still agree that trade and increased trade is always a good thing. It's a positive factor that should be sustained and it should be encouraged. But perhaps the ease with which capital and companies can move across borders, lots of people have been left behind. And perhaps the best way to deal with some of these negative impacts of globalization is to focus more on the regional level and regional forums of cooperation, again across all the sectors, but with particular emphasis on free movement of people, but managed movement of people, of course, but facilitating people-to-people contacts, increasing common cultural capital, building trade, participating, collaborating on innovation. I think there's a lot more can be done on the regional level. I think, particularly in the global south, there's perhaps still too much reliance on the tech superpowers, if you like, the economic superpowers, and better regional cooperation could do something to counterbalance that.
Can I add something?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you a lot. Dr. Stephen is right when he talks about the regional level, but I think COVID-19 also they show us the importance of the cooperation, not only just in the regional level, in the global level. Without the all procedures is being taken by all countries around the world, we will not be succeed to somehow control it, spread of the COVID-19. Actually, this being taking the action by all countries. Yes, they take about themselves, but also they take about the others. In addition to that, the all what they call it, initiatives and activities and the cooperation between the companies, even in the level of finding or searching for vaccine. It means they are from different part of the world. You will find that Chinese companies working with some others companies in Europe, and you will find some companies who will make a test in the other content This is kind of the cooperation to somehow work together. Yes, I know that we miss some system, it's a global system, I mean, we needed a little bit more strength system to somehow help us and coordinate all this work together. But at least let's make sure that how the world is become all together. They also give us also some like they encourage us to focus on some items or factors is very important for the national security, like the health security. Actually, it was something nobody think about it. They thought that in many countries, they thought with their infrastructure, they can deal with the different issues, including the health issue. But it showed that importance of the health security for the national security even. Also, they gave us the different lifestyle, how we can change our life for the better health. Now when you are walking, you take care, you must wear the mask. Wear the mask, not only for your health, but also to protect others, to not being affected by COVID-19. You are thinking about others. The humanitarian assistance or support is given by some countries like UAE, they already delivered that without thinking about the political issues, without all this, they send the assistance. They mean even they give some assistance for the countries like Iran and others, only just for the humanitarian issues. This is also very important, is make change, how to view it. It's give us to think about something will happen, it also may be bigger in the future. How we can deal with it. We talk with the WTO, some experts. We say, okay, we must think about how we can deal if we face the same epidemic in the future and all countries being closed. What is the option and alternative of movement that goods, the trade is being continuous to at least secure the food and other stuff for the whole this country. This is all of challenges and some issues we must discuss it. And this is also the areas we must, at the think tanks, think about it and somehow find the solution and alternatives option for it. Thank you a lot, Dr. Rose.
Thank you so much. I mean, thank you for this so interesting discussion. And let me please, may I introduce my colleague, Mr. Igal Landau. I already introduced him, but I would like Igal actually to come up with some comments and some impressions or observations.
With pleasure. I come from the field of oil and gas. It's a relatively new field of economy in Israel. And it's an operation we started about 27 years ago. And we were among the pioneers who discovered a very big natural gas reservoirs offshore Israel. As a result of that, Israel before was always dependent on importing of energy. Energy in Israel, electricity was produced mainly by polluting coal and diesel fuel. And those gas discoveries enable Israel to gain an independent, to be independent from the energetic point of view. And also it had a very positive regional effect, where today Israel is a gas supplier for its neighboring countries, especially Jordan and Egypt. And as you all gentlemen mentioned during this session, those economical activity enhance political inter-countries relationship. This is stronger, like in the academia, this is stronger than anything else. And this kind of contribution can be made by other fields, not only energy, in the high-tech and aviation and tourism and the pharmaceutical and et cetera, et cetera. And again, it makes me very proud to participate in this webinar and to try and contribute as much as possible. So good luck for us all. Thank you, Uzi.
Thank you, Yigal. As I said before, Yigal is one of the, is a member on the board of governors of Tel Aviv University, and alongside with Yigal, actually, what we have today, Yehuda Raveh. Mr. Yehuda Raveh is also a member of the board of governors. Yehuda Raveh is an attorney and co-founder of the Israeli Infrastructure Fund. He has been involved in many large-scale projects, both in Israel and overseas. The moment actually we talked to him, I was amazed to see that he also has kind of a familiarity with Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And without further ado, Yehuda, please.
Uzi, I'm trying to show my video, but somehow I was locked.
Take your time, Yehuda. We are here. I mean, we have.
Okay, fine. Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for letting me participate in this important webinar. I can tell you from my own perspective view of the relationship between Israel and the Emirates. I visited the Emirates in January together with business associates of mine, and
Yehuda, please, can you unmute us? I mean, there's a no. Okay, thanks. Go on, Yehuda, please.
As I said, I visited for the first time. I visited the Emirates in January with business associates of mine, and this was before the peace agreement was signed, and we were totally excited with what we saw there. First of all, we realized that there is a great respect for Israel in the Emirates, but we also developed a greater respect to the achievements in the Emirates in its 49 years of independence. And there is so much, we found there is so much in common between the Emirates and Israel. We both strive for technological developments to improve our standard of life, to improve the economy, to improve the environment. And I established a business investment company together with partners in Abu Dhabi and Dubai in order to cooperate and do business together. And we are going to bring 20 Israeli companies to Abu Dhabi and Dubai next month. And I found it really something that could not be done before the peace agreement was signed. So I wish you all success, and I hope we will meet again in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yehuda. I just want to say that both Yigal and Yehuda are supporters of Tel Aviv University, and I am sure that whatever we are going actually to do together, people like Yigal and Yehuda are going to be very supportive, not only them, but all of us here in Tel Aviv University, and I may say also in the street. People are pretty excited about this opportunity. And let me tell you, I don't want to get into comparisons between UAE and other Arab states, but everybody here in Israel has the feeling that this normalization agreement has kind of an added value, which is based not only on the geopolitical setting, but also this technological, economic, mutual benefits. And here comes the other thing, which is so important. And I haven't seen that in Israel for years. People do believe that there is kind of an intimacy, slight intimacy, kind of respecting the other, which makes this whole opera totally different than what we had known in the 20th century. So this is why I think that summing up all that and all the comments that had been said and raised here, we are really having kind of a very, very promising, I hope, future. So let's do that together. And I would like to thank you all, but there are some, questions coming from the audience, different questions. I would like actually to just approach some of you with some of the questions. If you would like to just respond to that, I mean, that would be great. I mean, people, Peter is asking, for example, what would be the difference? Because, as Yuda said and others, it under or beneath the radar, there was sort of an interaction between Israel or Israelis and Emiratis. I think that what we got now is kind of a platform where everything is going to be very easygoing. And I would like actually to just take your or have your take about that. So what would be the difference? Peter is asking whether there's not just more of the same in kind of a rapid path. I think that we have now a wonderful platform being set by the Abraham Accord, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be totally different than what we had known. This is one question. Well, I mean, there are other questions which are talking about the history of the Middle East. And if you have kind of a comment to come up with about the instrumentality of the Abraham Accord and the long-standing history of the region, that would be great too. So we have two comments coming from the audience about the added value of the Abraham Accord in all forms of life. And the second, what would be the historic meaning in that? Of course, this has to do with the future, but if you would like to respond to that, be our guest. Please.
Yeah.
It's okay, then later I will talk.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting about the new agreement, I think there's an assumption that societies in this region are kind of homogenous, but over the long course of history, that's not actually the case. They've traditionally or usually been very diverse. I was fortunate enough to visit Israel once, and I met people of Russian origin, of Ethiopian origin. It's a very, very diverse population. And we have a very diverse population here in the UAE. Almost the whole world is here in the UAE in terms of their origins. So, and I think that is actually a kind of historically was a normality, and the more it can become the new normality, a return to normality, I think any Israeli citizens who care to visit the UAE, they'll find an extremely diverse place where they'll feel extremely comfortable. And I mean, I was certainly, that was my feeling when on the one occasion I visited Israel. So it's historically, there was a lot more cultural interaction. There was interaction irrespective of ethnicity or religious confession or anything like that. So in that sense, I think Israel and the UAE are two natural partners.
Thank you. I had only just one additional point to add it to your question. It's very important to say it. When you talk about the different, what is making this actually movement or this development different than what happened before? Actually, because we are different. We always not compare, as you said. We not compare ourselves to the others. We are believe that the importance of this agreements, the peace is very important for us, for the development, for the stability, for the future. We have a big vision for the future. This vision cannot we do it with all this instability. We always push it to make this region stable. We can work together. We can share the life, the better life for both sides and for the others who is being living in the same region. why we don't need for the people. The people, we must make a difference between people and the government, that we have a different thought with them. We always say for them, please make change, take care about your people, think about the development, stability better than you make some like bad things or deal. The other side that you talk about is the history. The history is very important. When we talk about the history is the tool help you to reach the future. This is very important. When they say it, well, there is one thing they always say. The history, if the histories make you go to the past, then you must leave it. This will not help. The history must help us for the better. We know the history. We didn't make any like change from the history when we deal in the same way with the situation, with the issues that we face it for more than like 75 years. We now shifted to some other strategy. We agree with our partner on the other side. We actually put it many areas for the cooperation that we can cooperate and we can work on it. And we believe that this can take us to the next step and also can help the others to be joined this process. Thank you a lot. Mr. Mahmoud, you want to say something?
I would like to add a point here that is important in terms of the beauty of the Abraham Accord, and the fact is the economic and development dimension of it. I mean, there is a nexus between development and security as a general framework, but also I think we have here the concept of in UAE we have the concept of accelerators. So economic cooperation, the emphasis on economic cooperation, identifying the most important, vital and critical sectors will act as an accelerator of the normalization process. It would give it a real boost. So we need to identify what are the common economic agenda, the sector, the areas in which we can work on. Of course, I mean, there is a policymakers who are working at that level, but we also at the think tank, we have some sort of a role to play with the policymaker, and we have to identify these important issues that will serve as a cornerstone of this beautiful agreement.
So encouraging, so promising. I have to tell you that, you know, I mean, when we talk about history, as a historian, I have to tell you that we must make our young generation knowledgeable about their history and about the others' history. Because if this is what we're going to have, as Mr. Al-Ustad said, we're going to use history to build kind of a promising future. But having said that about the academia, let me give you something that I hear time and again. People are pretty anxious about this, you know, boycotting movement of the Israeli academia if and when they are going to collaborate or cooperate with, let's say, Arab centers or whatever future cooperation they have in mind. And, you know, I think that what I just heard from you is the right to the point saying that we are at kind of a stage where we have to move forward. And only if we're going to act together, only if we are going to strengthen our bond, we're going to overcome the difficulties that still lie ahead. So, I mean, I guess you heard about the BDS movement one way or the other. And, you know, there is a question from the audience about that. I myself think that this is something that, in my opinion, has to do with the past, boycotting the other. These are the tools of the 20th century. What we are doing together is to find a common denominator. But if you have kind of a comment on that, you know, either BDS, either boycotting the other, please, we would really like to have your comment on that, if at all.
I mean, any comment I have on BDS, I have to give from a UK perspective, being a British national. I mean, my personal impression is it's running out of steam. I mean, particularly the scandal you had in the Labour Party in the UK, where you know, prejudice and anti-Semitism was the growth of it was left unchecked for years, and there's been a significant backlash against that. And I think, you know, institutions in the UK, academic institutions, are far more mindful of this as a problem now, and they're distancing themselves from BDS activities. I mean, I suspect that's also not such an issue in the United States now. I'm not an expert on the situation in the United States. So yes, it's you know, it's a particular lobby group and interest group which has raised this issue of BDS. But my feeling, at least in Britain, it's running out of momentum, and there's it's been scrutinised. I mean, some of the motives behind the BDS, they're being scrutinised much more carefully than they were a few years ago. So I think it's kind of a case of wait and see. But I don't personally, I don't foresee it being a major problem. I think people in Europe and North America are in as much as they take an interest in the Abraham Accords, they're pretty positive about this development.
Yeah, you know, I have to tell you, actually, I was privileged to actually meet a Bahraini delegation in Tel Aviv, actually, a couple of days ago. And I can tell you that we were asked the same question there. And I would like to quote something that came from my colleague as kind of a, you know, panoramic view of the Middle East. And this is what we say today when we are being asked about the yesterday and the tomorrow. We are here together to open the gates of the tomorrow. This is exactly what we are trying to do together. And this is what I say when it comes to kind of a question like that. If we would like to make people understand or realize what the change is, well, 2020 is going to be remembered as a very, very critical year in the sense of COVID-19 and pandemics. But when it comes to the Middle East, there were two scenes that, in my opinion, characterized the Middle Eastern panorama. The first of which came from Beirut. We do remember what happened in the port of Beirut several months ago. All these explosives, ammonia. This is kind of a token or kind of an expression of negligence. And this could happen to every Middle Eastern state, beautiful as it was, Lebanon, which is going to be taken captive by radical forces like Iran, Hezbollah, etc. The other scene, at the same time, was this airplane going from Tel Aviv through the Saudi desert, landing in Abu Dhabi. This flight was so promising, bringing in kind of a different scenario for a better Middle East. And I think that this is kind of a wake-up call for all these actors in the Middle East who would like actually to build up a better future for the next generations. This is kind of a wake-up call, as I said, to come together, to use this flight, to use these bonds that are being strengthened now, this cooperation. Let us do that together. You know, I have to tell you guys, I am so grateful for this webinar session. I am so grateful for our cooperation, and I do promise that when it comes to Tel Aviv University and to Moshe Dayan Center, we are going to come up with our utmost efforts in order to success in this wonderful cooperation. Thank you for that. Thank you for bringing in the. This is for us something great.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you so
much.
Thanks
this
a lot.
invitation, and thank you for this evening. Thank you a lot. Thank you.
Looking forward to meeting you either here or there. Stay safe. Thanks a lot. مع السلامة. ألف شكر.
Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.